Tarita Srimad Abhay Charanardavindam Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sigaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai Gangamai Jamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Shrimati Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 20, text number 7. 11. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Harina Haribhi Shashpire Indra Gopascha Lohita Uchi Lindira Krita Chaya Nrinam Shir Eva Bhurbuha Abhut Harita Haribhi Shashpair Indra Gopas Chalohita Uchi Linda Kritachchaya Nrinam Shir Eva Bhur Abhut Harita Hadishibhi Shashpire Indra Gopais Chalohita Uchilindira Kritachchaya Nrinam Kireva Bhirhadbhut Harita Haribhir Shashbhayar Indra Gopaischa Lohita Ladies? Harita Hari Vishashvaya. Harita, greenish. Haribi, which is green. Shashvai, because of the newly grown grass. Indragopai, because of the Indragopa insects. Cha, and Lohita, reddish. Achalindra, by the mushrooms. Krita, afforded. Chaya, shelter. Nrinam, of men. Shri, the opulence. Eva, just as. Bhu, the earth. Abhut, became. Translation. The newly grown grass made the earth emerald green. The Indragopa insects added a reddish hue, and the white mushrooms added further color and circles of shade. Thus the earth appeared like a person who has suddenly become rich. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami comments that the word Nrinam indicates men of the royal order. Thus, the colorful display of dark green fields decorated with bright red insects and white mushroom umbrellas can be compared to a royal parade displaying the military strength of a king. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Gadim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So, in this chapter, we see that Shukadeva Goswami is describing the rainy season and the autumn. And in that way, he's setting the scene or the set for Lord Sri Krishna's pastimes. Srimad Bhagavatam is about the pastimes of the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, and his devotees. So this 10th canto is described as the Sunambonam, or the ultimate fruit that we derive from Srimad Bhagavatam, directly the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna. And at the same time of setting the scene for Krishna's pastimes, Shukadeva Goswami is also giving some instructions. And here we see that he's comparing this newly grown grass and the growth that comes from the rainy season. We all have experience, especially if you go village side, you'll see that in the summer everything becomes dried up. Right? Everything looks brown. Right? But in the rainy season, all of a sudden everything becomes green and very lush with vegetation and growth. Right? So here, Shukadeva Goswami describes that it's like a person that's suddenly become rich. Right? When someone has no money, their situation is very difficult. It's hard to exist in this world without some kind of wealth, right? So you can say they become dried up. They say, Srila Prabhupada mentions that the face is the index of the mind. So someone who's very poor, has no wealth, their face becomes very dried up. But the same person who suddenly comes upon a lot of wealth, right, then their whole attitude changes. They become very happy, right, that they have wealth. This happens sometimes. Someone doesn't have money and then all of a sudden they get a lot of money. Like if they win the lottery, right? They buy these lottery tickets, and all of a sudden they have a lot of money and they become very happy. Somebody's stocks go up in the stock market. If somebody had bought these vaccine companies' stocks before the pandemic, they would have got them very cheap, and now their stocks are way high. Right? Everybody got vaccine. Everybody who got vaccine, the Pfizer, Moderna, they made more and more money. Right? And so did their stockholders, made money. So all of a sudden, a lot of money. Of course, we have to see things in the perspective. Just because one acquires a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean one is going to be happy. There's so many examples of brothers, their father makes a big business, and they inherit their business, and then they fight. They divide the business, and the business goes down. Right? Even the person who wins a lottery would think, well, they won $5 million in the lottery, or so many crores of rupees in the lottery, so they must be very happy. But many times, and there has been many, histories about people who acquired a lot of money all of a sudden, and they realized that although they acquired so much money, they were more happy when they didn't have the money. Right? They were more happy when they didn't have the money. So we can't always surmise, but in the material world people do. They think that if I have more money, then I'll be happy. But we learn from instructions of Prahlad Maharaj that our happiness and our distress depends upon what we have done in our previous life. Right? Generally, people think, I'll work hard and I'll get money and I'll be happy. But actually, they're allotted so much happiness depending upon what they did in their previous life. And Prahlad Maharaj gives a nice example for us to understand how that works. And that is, he explains that just like nobody wants unhappiness, right? Nobody wants unhappiness. Nobody goes out in the market looking, where can I get some misery? Right? Can I get misery in this shop? Or can I get some misery over here? Nobody looks like that, right? But still misery, unhappiness, and suffering, still it comes. You didn't want it. In fact, we do so many things to avoid the misery, right? But still it comes, right? Can anyone here say they have no unhappiness in their life? Right? Yes, unhappiness comes of its own accord. You're walking along, you're enjoying the sunny day, right? The nice trees, and you stub your toe on a rock and it begins to bleed. You didn't look for that. You didn't want that, but it happened. It happens. So just as in this world, unhappiness comes unsought. We didn't work for that unhappiness, but it came upon us. In the same way, happiness will also come. As much happiness as we're meant to have, that will come to us without your endeavor. Just like your unhappiness came without your endeavor. You didn't want it, but it came. Same way, the happiness will also come in the same way. But yet somehow or another, due to being in the bodily concept of life and affected by the three modes of material nature, the living entity thinks that by my endeavor, by my work, I'll get some fruit, I'll get some benefit, and I will enjoy that fruit. This is called Maya, illusion, right? And everyone is in that illusion. Everyone. Except for the pure devotees of the Lord. Everyone is in that illusion. So, the point is, just as someone becomes suddenly rich, who is actually rich anyway? Right? The actually rich person is the person who's situated in Krishna consciousness. They're actually rich. Because they have, what does it mean to be Krishna conscious? It means that I am thinking that I belong to Krishna. Right? There's two stages. One is, the first stage is, I belong to Krishna. And the next stage is, Krishna belongs to me. Krishna's mine. Right? In the material world, everyone is thinking, this is mine and that is mine, this is mine, right? My bungalow, my bibi, my bacha, or my baiska, buffalo, the bees. Mera hai, mine. But what is ours? What actually do we own? Even there's some question whether we own this material body or not. We're in this material body. It's a combination of earth, water, fire, air. After I leave this body, the air part goes back to the air, the water part goes back to the water, the fire part goes back to the fire, right? So we can say that there's the Panch Mahabhut. So this body has come from that, and it goes back to that. What's the question of me claiming this is my body? Right? Some may say that, the body came from the parents. This body we have came from our parents, right? So therefore the body belongs to the parents. Or the demigods that are controlling the various material elements, right? Since they're controlling, the body belongs to them, the demigods. Or one may say that the Lord has various Shaktis. The Lord has various Shaktis, and this material nature is one of the Shaktis of the Supreme Lord. So it belongs to the Supreme Lord. So we, being in the illusion that I am this body, leads to further degradation in the material world. When actually Krishna, the first thing that Krishna instructs Arjuna, when Arjuna accepted Krishna as his guide and spiritual master, was to explain to him the difference between the body and the soul. So that's the very foundational understanding. Prabhupada calls it the simple truth. Try to understand this simple truth, Prabhupada would say, that we're not this body. Simple thing. But such a simple thing, the whole world is going in the illusion of the bodily concept of life. The whole world. I am this body, and I can enjoy this body. The whole economic system is based on this idea that you will become happy by sense gratification. If we're not this body, how will we become happy by sense gratification? Sense gratification means the indriya, the senses, interacting with the sense objects. Right? But I am not that. I'm not the body, I'm not the senses. So how will I become happy by sense gratification? This requires some intelligence so that we can understand this simple truth. But because people's intelligence is diverted, they're using their intelligence for trying to minimize their suffering and enhancing their sense gratification. All their time is taken up, and they don't get proper intelligence, right? They may do some very wonderful, in a material sense, some wonderful thing, like now everyone is absorbed in their cell phones, right? And their what they call the smartphones. The phone may be smart, but the smartphone makes us dumb. Dumb to spiritual life. So simply by manipulating numbers, and not many numbers, only 2 numbers, 1 and 0, right? Who's a coder here, right? Isn't that computer language? The numbers are 1 and 0 only. And you manipulate this 1 and 0 and you'll get so many different codes. And with that, we have so many different computer apps that people are absorbed in. But even if they analyze all of these different technological advancements, still the basic purpose of this human form of life is unfulfilled. That purpose being to end the difficulties, to end the problems, to end the suffering. People are not given this information. They don't have the information. Right? They don't have this simple truth that we're eternal spirit souls meant to serve Krishna. Of course, everything can be used in the service of Krishna. Nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagya uchate. And to some extent, we can also use, the information highway or technology to give information about Krishna, so that people can come to know the actual truth about what the purpose of this human form of life is. Without which, people will again take birth in the material world in some type of body according to their karma, according to their activities. They'll take birth in the material world and continue to suffer. There's no information in the, universities, the so-called institutions of education, about how to, or what is the purpose of the human form of life. It's not there. So-called education in modern society is actually a failure. They failed the people. They failed the students to understand what the purpose of this life is for. What am I supposed to do here? Right? They simply encourage them in sense gratification. You become a programmer and work for a company and take a salary. They think that's success. But is it success? As soon as they get the degree, college degree, they go from company to company. Can you hire me? You give your application to the HR department and we'll see. Right? Srila Prabhupada was walking on the Juhu beach, and even today, people walk their dogs. So Srila Prabhupada was describing that there's 2 types of dogs here. One is the street dog. They have no master. And then there's the pet dogs. The master's there and walking the dog, right? So generally it's considered that the dog with a master is more fortunate. Because the master feeds the dog, takes him for a walk, right? And the street dog has no master. He has to struggle for some food and struggle with the other dogs. Dogs are a strange lot, you know, they gang up on each other, you know. One dog is, you know, bitten by all the other dogs. So generally the dogs with the master is better. There's Nath who has master, and Anath means no master, Anath. Right? So after we come out of college, we look for that Nath, because you'll be my master, will you be my master? Will you be my master? Google, will you be? Facebook, will you? Looking for a master. So what's the sense of these degrees? PhD, MA, you know, MS, BS, so many different degrees. If in the end you're like a dog looking for master. But yes, we should have master. We should have master. But why not have the best master? The most powerful master, the most opulent master, the most beautiful master, right? Krishna. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada said, make Krishna your master. In the material world, everyone is Anat. They're thinking, I'm master. Right? I have my house. I have my bungalow. Right? I have my children, and I'm the master of them. But that's only for some time. After a short time, again, you have to leave the body. You leave behind your bungalow and your family members. At the time of death, can your family members save you? Huh? Ajamil was leaving his body and the Yamadutas came. They were taking the soul out of the body, and they were taking him away to Yamaraj. Right? His young son was playing nearby, named Narayan, and he called out for his son, Narayan. But his son couldn't save him. But he was saved. By chanting that name, Narayan, the Vishnu Dutas came. And they stopped the Yamadutas. Hey, wait a minute. You can't take him. The Yamadutas argued, hey, oh, sinful person, hey. We're taking, that's our job, take the sinful to the court of Yamaraj. Why are you stopping us? This is the Dharma. So they had a discussion. What is actually Dharma? And in the end, the Vishnu Dutas defeated the Yamadutas, and Ajamil was not taken away by the Yamadutas. This is the point that the materialists don't understand. Right? They think that everything is this life. Everything is this life. But this life is very short. It's not lasting that long. It's stated that a wise man knows that life passes just like the blinking of an eye. Just like the blinking of an eye. And wasn't it that in another life we also had made the same effort to accumulate money and accumulate wealth? Right? In our last life we had a family, we had father, we had mother in the last life, in so many lifetimes, right? And we had affection. Even a tiger, a female tiger has affection for her cubs, right? So that's a common thing. Affection for family members. It's there even in the animals, right? So that's not such a great achievement that we have attachment for our families. But rather developing attachment and reviving our lost relationship with Krishna, that is an accomplishment. And there's a process. And part of that process is hearing about the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, hearing about the pastimes of the Supreme Lord's devotees. This can help us to rekindle. It's there within every living entity. It's not coming extraneously from somewhere else. Love for Krishna is there within the heart. It simply needs to be awakened. Just like a child, at a certain age, a baby has the inherent ability to walk. Maybe at one year or 14 months or something like that, the baby can walk. It's in the body. It's not like it comes from somewhere else. The ability is there in the baby's body to walk at a certain stage in their development. And by practice, that ability manifests itself. Child can walk, right? In the same way, Krishna consciousness is within everyone's heart. It's natural to be attracted to Krishna. But it needs to be awakened. And that process, one of the processes, or you can say the main process, is to hear about Krishna. Krishna is equal to everyone. You know, we have, because of our bodily attachment, we have this, someone is my friend and someone is my enemy. Right? Someone supports me, someone doesn't support me. But Krishna doesn't have that. Right? He's equal to everyone. If someone comes to me and says, "Oh, you're such a nice Prabhuji, and that was a really wonderful class," and I think, "Oh, yeah, right. I did it, yeah. This devotee really is smart, who's telling me all these things. Smart devotee, yeah. It's in my group. This devotee's in my group. One of my boys. But Krishna's not like that. He doesn't care. It doesn't faze him. You're coming to, "Oh, Krishna." Neither does it when the demons insult him. There's no God. God is dead. That also doesn't faze him. We get fazed because we're in the bodily concept of life. And we have this mental concoction. This one is my friend. This one is my enemy. It's illusion. Prahlad Maharaj calls it the greatest disease of the conditioned soul is to think that someone is my friend and someone is my enemy. Krishna sees everyone equally. He benedicts the devotees. He also benedicts the demons. He benefits the demons. Shishupal insulted Krishna 100 times. He never minded. And then ultimately he killed Shishupal with a Sudarshan Chakra. And everyone in the assembly saw that an effulgent light came out of the body of Shishupal and merged into the body of Krishna. Such a blasphemous that he did, such blasphemy. But it didn't bother Krishna. And some people say, oh, Krishna, he's partial to the demigods. And he doesn't like the demons. But that's not true. They don't understand Krishna. This life is meant to try to understand Krishna. And in understanding Krishna, we can understand ourselves also, our real self, as part and parcel of Krishna. And living entity has the qualities of Krishna in a minute amount. But they're covered over. They're covered over with this idea that, I can enjoy in this material world. So that has to be washed away, specifically by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. So gradually we come to understand that I belong to Krishna. And we serve Krishna. And we try to please Krishna. That's the goal of life. I mean, you can do devotional service and still try to please yourself. But what's the benefit of that? Of course, gradually you'll become purified even from that concept that, I'll be a devotee and, I'll still enjoy in the material world, kind of 1 foot in the material world and 1 foot in devotional service, But by continuing devotional service, by continuing to chant, by continuing to stay in association with devotees, that consciousness will be further cleansed. And Krishna's helping us. He helps his devotee. To become like the devotees in Braj. Their only desire is to satisfy Krishna. Every movement that they make, every single thing that they do is for the pleasure of Krishna. Right? The only idea that they have is how to please Krishna. Mother Yashoda is cooking for the pleasure of Krishna. Why? Because she's thinking, Krishna is mine. I must protect him. Krishna is the shelter of the whole universe. Everything is existing as his energy. But yet Mother Yashoda is thinking, if I don't feed Krishna, he'll become sick. So that stage is Krishna is mine. First of all, though, we have to develop that sambandha, that relationship. And therefore, the spiritual master is giving us sambandha gyan, explaining the glories of Krishna. We just see how Srila Prabhupada painstakingly, although he's on the platform of Krishna is mine, he's painstakingly taking the effort to bring persons who don't understand even that I belong to Krishna to that platform by extolling the glories of Krishna, helping them understand how great Krishna is. Right? So he's actually coming down from a platform higher platform to help the living entities come up. So, this 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, being the Sunam Bonam, is very wonderful. It gives us a kind of insight into the beautiful and relishable sweet pastimes of Krishna. And if we hear this Srimad Bhagavatam in association of devotees, gradually we can understand it. And if we can understand Srimad Bhagavatam by regularly hearing in association with devotees, at the end of this life we can enter into the spiritual realm. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for this wonderful lecture. So, sorry for this question, but I have one question, which is in 4.11, Lord Krishna says that ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tata bhajamiham. So where he says, according to the surrender, I reward them. But today you mentioned that Lord Krishna is actually fair. So moving from your point, how do we understand 4.11, Prabhuji? That's my question.
Surrender. All of them, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Well, people perform austerities to obtain some wealth. And devotees of the Lord also perform austerities. But that's austerity is to establish their relationship with Krishna. So if somebody's wanting some material benefit and they're performing that austerity, they get it ultimately. And in the same way, a devotee performs austerities to understand Krishna, they also get that by Krishna's, kindness, His mercy. So different people have different desires. Ultimately, their desires are fulfilled by the Supreme Lord. So you surrender to Krishna, you can get Krishna. If you surrender to the material energy, you get, birth, death, old age, and disease. Right? All of them, as they surrender, some people want to, they worship the demigods for some material benefit or to obtain the location of the demigods or the planet of the demigods. So that's pious. They surrender that much and they get that much. But for the devotees that surrender to Krishna, they develop their relationship with Krishna. And for the devotees in Braj, as we're reading from this 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, they don't know anything but Krishna. And Krishna can't even begin to repay them. When he's discussing with the gopis that have come to him in the dead of the night, their devotional service is so high, there's no way he can even reciprocate with that. He said, you'll just have to be satisfied with your devotional service. Krishna is the most powerful, but even more powerful than Krishna is love for Krishna. He feels conquered by that. He feels controlled by that. You know, he's a dancing plaything in the hands of Mother Yashoda because he's so much, I don't even, what's the right word? He's so much, he himself is surrendered to that bhakti and that love. But to understand that, to enter into that, there's a process. And the process is what Srila Prabhupada has set up for us to follow, which is rising early, taking bath, worshiping the deity, chanting the holy name, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, so that we can understand that process of surrender to Krishna and what it means to surrender to Krishna. Is it okay? Any other questions? Yes?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the nice class. You were mentioning this point of Prahlad Maharaj that beautifully explains that we don't work for the misery, we don't look for the misery, but still it comes. So similarly, happiness will also come unsought. So like when we explain this to others, sometimes people may argue that even if the success is destined to us, but we will still have to work for it. Just like Arjuna, he was told by Krishna that I have already killed all the Kauravas, but he has to fight the war. It can't come without putting an endeavor. So
And that's not what Krishna said.
Krishna said that...
Krishna said whether you fight or don't fight, they're already dead.
Yeah.
So you might as well fight and take the credit.
Yeah. So he has to fight to take that credit.
Yes.
Victory will not come without putting an endeavor.
But it's not that if he didn't fight, it wouldn't have happened. That's what Krishna told him. It's done. It's my desire, so it's over. But you can participate and take the credit. Unfortunately, Arjuna did.
We are talking from Arjuna's perspective.
But what they think is success may not necessarily be success. We don't consider it success at all. What's the value if someone worked very hard and even acquired an empire, but if in their next life they took birth as a dog? Was success? They have some imaginary conception of what is success, and they work towards that goal, whatever it is. To be the CEO of a company or to have some, educational degree. But even if you attain that, and still in their personal lives, they don't understand the simple truth that we're not this body, what is that success? Yes, everybody has to work. You can't even maintain your material body without work. We're not saying that you sit and do nothing and it'll all come to you. No, Krishna didn't tell that to Arjuna. Don't worry, Arjuna, you sit in a chariot and smoke ganja and I'll do everything. He didn't say like that. He said you fight. Do your duty as a Kshatriya and fight. But do it for me. The problem is that they want to work, but they don't want to work for Krishna. They want to work for numero uno, me. Right? This is the problem. And it's also, they need guidance to do that. They have to surrender to the devotees in order to learn how to work for Krishna, because they only know how to do things for me. Even after someone comes to Krishna consciousness, they're still in that frame of mind. What's in it for me? Okay, I'll do devotional service, but what do I get out of it? We have to get out of that consciousness. And the spiritual master helps. Why? Because we work for the pleasure of the spiritual master. We please him. And then Krishna enlightens us from within the heart to go further in devotional service. So we don't say, don't do work. Yes, do work, but do it for Krishna. And they can't understand that. So at least surrender some of the fruits of your labor to Krishna. Take a book. Give a little donation. It's a beginning for them to understand what their relationship with Krishna ought to be. Gradually.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
We can't tear them out of the consciousness that they're in. It's not possible. But we can engage them in acts of devotion so that their consciousness gradually changes. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one more point. You were mentioning about like body belongs to whom? This question was raised. So people may say that suppose the body has been given by the Supreme Lord through the agency of Maya, through the agency of material nature. But now I am working hard to maintain this body. So it very much belongs to me also. It may belong to them, but it belongs to me also. So I am also a claimant of that. Just like if suppose a child is born and the parents, they just abandon the child and the child is taken care by another person. So although the body was given by the parent, the biological parent, but the child is taken care, nourished by another set of parents. So they are the claimant of the body in this case. So they can say that, the materialist can say that we are also maintaining our body by working hard, so it belongs to us also.
You work hard, you maintain your body, and you're thinking that it belongs to me. But in the end, the worms eat it. The worms pass stool. So what's its destination? Or they burn the body and it becomes ashes. So what do you own? What do you own? You say you're working hard, I maintain it, it also belongs to me, but in the end, it becomes ashes. So what do you own? It takes a little bit of intelligence, not much, to understand the simple truth. But they should have some little brain to understand it. Unfortunately, their heads are all filled with cow dung, gobar. So they need some small acts of devotional service so that they can appreciate it. But gradually they'll understand.
Hare Krishna. So we can't just intellectually convince them, that will not be sufficient. We need to engage them and help them purify, then they will come to really understand.
Mostly. If someone has a lot of previous interaction in devotional service, they can understand just by preaching. But if they don't, they require a lot of glubjamins to eat. And gradually they'll understand. There's different kinds of people that surrender to Krishna. And Jnanicha, one of them is a Jnanicha. They have that knowledge they've acquired, but they're rare. So, you can bring a person as much as they can, they can eat as much as they can digest, not more than that. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj says in 7th canto 6th chapter that every living entity wants to be happy and avoid distress, but as soon as they try for happiness, the distress starts, and as long as they don't try, they are happy. So that is the truth.
Yeah, if you want to acquire so many crores of rupees, you have to work very hard, right? So just starting that, trying to fulfill that desire, you're going to create so many problems for yourself. And even if you accumulate that wealth, you have to worry about not losing it, right? In 1929, the stock market crashed. I think that was the big crash, 1929 or something. Yeah, 1929. In New York City, so many people jumped out the window because they saw that all their wealth was gone. They committed suicide. Right? So people are, the fact that their happiness is based on some imaginary thing, and within a second it can just disappear. And they lose their balance to the point where they'll commit suicide. So what kind of illusion were they in? That only a devotee can help them see. Because devotees are not in that illusion. They realize there's nothing in this material world that's valuable except association with devotees, the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. That's valuable.
I have a question. Recently I was reading 3rd canto, Varahadev's pastime.
Braha.
Lord Varahadev's pastime. So in that, Hiranyaksha starts abusing Lord Varahadev. So you are a beast and abominable, all that stuff. Prabhupada writes, when the devotees they praise the Lord, he's satisfied. But when Mayavadis they say that you don't have legs, you don't have hands, you don't have feet, then the Lord is dissatisfied. How do you understand? You are saying in this class that Lord is not affected by praise and blasphemy.
Not that he personally insulted, but he realizes that his living entity is not going to be able to enjoy with him in relationship, right? Not that if somebody's praising him, he's benefited. But he's happy to see that this living entity is going to come back into the relationship with him and enjoy nicely. That he enjoys. Ananda Briyasat, his relationship with the living entities, that Chinmay Ras, that he's the master, they're the servant, and when they serve him, they enjoy together equally. So when the praise is coming, it's not like he's getting some benefit, but he realizes the relationship is being established. And the Mayavadis, they're breaking off the relationship. So he's not so satisfied by that.
Out of compassion, he is dissatisfied.
Yes. Out of a desire to establish that relationship, the proper relationship with his part and parcel, right?
Srila Prabhupada says, Mayavadis, they are almost like demons.
Who?
Prabhupada says, these Mayavadis, they are almost like demons.
Well, they certainly criticize the Lord and blaspheme the Lord. Yeah, being a Mayavadi is not a very good situation for the living entity. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much for the very wonderful class. You were mentioning about a person gets a degree, and after his degree he looks out, can you become my master? Goes to different companies. So just a thought crossed my mind that because a person has attained some skills and talents, and there is a sense of worth that whatever I have learned in my life, if that can be utilized in some way or the other for the benefit of anybody, best is for Krishna's benefit. But then when
most satisfying,
it's
not only best but most satisfying, truly satisfying,
satisfying
is to use that in the service of Krishna. Yes.
But then when a person comes, like I was just talking to another person, so then when he is engaged in Krishna's service using his talents and skills, a person often asks this question that what is my worth? Whatever talents and skills I am trying to utilize, wherein when he goes to a company, there he gets the salary that you are talking about. So a person feels
he gets some quantifiable
exactly
remuneration, and then he sees, well, here's my worth. I've got a 1 lakh a month is coming. I'm worth at least 1 lakh a month.
Yeah.
So he's getting that feedback as to who he is. Well, I'm in the 1 lakh a month bracket, right? Or whatever, 2 lakhs a month or whatever it is. And therefore he's getting this, develops his identity that way.
So he becomes more excited to work for a company
Temporarily, because once he's in the 2 lakh bracket, he looks around and sees, well, there's a 4 lakh bracket too. And how do I get myself from 2 lakhs up to that bracket, right? Right now I have to sit in the ordinary waiting lounge in the airport for my flight. But if I get in the 4 lakh rupee bracket, then I can sit in the lounge and wait for the flight. Waiting for the flight is there, but it's a mental idea that if I wait in the lounge, I'm with the 4 lakh rupee bracket. So his identity is enhanced, he thinks. But in the ultimate end, what is the value of that? You can put a dog on a throne, but if you throw a bone, he'll jump. You may be in the 4 lakh rupee bracket, but you can't keep your brain off pornography for a second. It's not even a human being. So what's the benefit? He'll take birth as some lower animal, isn't it? The only thing that can help people is Krishna consciousness. They can actually identify. We need identity. We need to know who we are. But we have these identities that are based on false things, not real things. So we try to establish our real identity. as a servant of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya is so merciful that Krishna himself come down just to help everybody establish that real identity. Jiver Swarupai Nitya Krishna Das, eternal servant of Krishna. People are suffering. They're trying to squeeze out every bit of enjoyment in this material body. And they're frustrated, extremely frustrated. No matter where they are, in which bracket. And only the holy name can help them. But if you asked anybody to chant, I don't have time. I'm busy. Or later, when I get old, I'll chant. But it never happens. Unless they somehow or another get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And the mercy of Lord Chaitanya comes through his devotees. We see the example of Srila Prabhupada. What was the need for him to leave Vrindavan? Our ISKCON devotees are, they're trying to figure out how they can retire and go to Vrindavan. And Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, living in Radha Damodar Mandir, and only paid 5 rupees a month for rent. He had 2 rooms, just opposite the samadhi of Srila Rupa Goswami. And every day he got a maha plate of Radha Damodar, perfectly situated. But he left it. He got on a boat, traveled across the ocean, had 2 heart attacks. Why? Simply to help others, to satisfy his spiritual master, Krishna, and to help people come to Krishna consciousness. So although the people he preached to, they had no adhikari to take to devotional service, right? But Krishna enlightened them within their hearts. Otherwise, how is it possible? People steeped in the mode of ignorance. Their only thing is to break all 4 regulator principles every day, all the time, 24 hours. How can they take to devotional service? It's impossible. But how is it possible? Because of the desire of Srila Prabhupada to serve his spiritual master in Krishna. And just to please him, they're in competition with each other. Srila Prabhupada's intensity to please Krishna and his guru. And similarly, Krishna's intensity to please him. So he enlightened these malechas from within the heart to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. It's magic. It's Krishna's magic. And put on dhotis, put on tilak, wear neck beads. How is it possible? Due to Srila Prabhupada's intense desire to please Krishna and his spiritual master. And just see, now even you're wearing kantimala, dhoti. The karmis used to think that the devotees were in their bed sheets in their pajamas. Why are these guys wearing that? Why do they shave their bed sheets and the pajamas and shave their heads? Huh? Painting on their neck beads like wild Indians? Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Nitai Go Premanandi.